been inspired to speak about courage, the courage to come alive, because actually courage usually isn't something that's spoken about much in these kinds of circles. Because usually we think of courage as something that we need to try to become, or we need to have certain courageous qualities, or we need to perform some great courageous acts. But actually, in my experience, courage is in the small things, and the big things, of course, but what seem to sometimes be the small things, like feeling a feeling that's here. It seems like a small thing, but to really feel it, to not try to escape into some spiritual states, into thought, into imagination, dreams, hopes, fears. This seems to take great courage sometimes. It seems to take great courage to step out of what is known, what you think you know about yourself, about life, about people around you, about what you do, about everything, anything. To see again and again that actually you don't know anything. That whatever you thought you knew was a safe place to land. And it's not that this is just happening once. It's an endless losing whatever you thought you knew, free falling into the unknown. Watching how everything that you thought was safe and secure unravels and unravels. It seems to take courage to stand in what you know to be true, beyond what you think. To acknowledge your true nature as life itself, freedom itself, wholeness itself, love, peace, emptiness. All these beautiful words, but to really acknowledge that you are that beyond all the words. Despite all the words, despite everything that happens, despite whatever experiences come and go, despite whatever feelings are felt, despite whatever ups and downs happen in your life, to know that you are courage itself. So courage isn't a quality that you need to try to get better at. It's not something that you need to add to your list of to-dos. It's actually your nature. When you see that you are not what you think, then there is only courage. And this courage seems to grow and grow and grow. And you watch yourself living more and more in alignment with this courage. So often when we're on the spiritual path, we're trying to find some bridge between that sense of wholeness that we know we are and our lived experience that often can feel like I'm a separate, isolated person stuck in here, inside this body, trying to reach out to the rest of the world out there. And we try so many different things to bridge that gap. And it's so painful to know that you are wholeness itself, and yet to watch yourself live as if you're separate and isolated. So often we just don't understand, why is it like this? What am I doing wrong? And all the trying to bridge that gap or trying to do something about it is only reinforcing the fact that there is a gap, that a bridge is needed. The truth is that it is a paradox. You are, I am, wholeness, freedom, life itself, beyond separation, beyond boundaries, unlimited. And yet here we are playing with limitations, within boundaries, playing the game of separation, seemingly located inside here, looking out of these eyes. And there's no need to bridge any gap because we're only playing. And when you know that, this life as a human becomes more and more of a play. You see that it's all here to be explored, to be felt, to be included, to be acknowledged. None of it is a problem to be fixed. It is all an adventure to be explored. So knowing that you are everything that you've been trying to become, it seems to take courage to see that there is nothing to fix. That it is all here just to be included. And in my experience with this, it seems that there's more and more a process of coming alive, of watching this human start to defrost somehow. More and more thoughts are seen to just be thoughts, to have no great importance, no great meaning. More and more beliefs are seen to just not have any real substance. Assumptions that I've made about myself, as if they were really the ground that I felt that I was standing on, were seen to not be true. And then once again, I'm free-falling in not knowing, not getting it, not understanding, not achieving. And yet, this opens up everything, just the way it is. And it brings such freedom. Freedom to play. Freedom to live. The freedom to get it all wrong. The freedom to make a mess. The freedom to be a mess. The freedom to be crazy. The freedom to express yourself. The freedom to feel whatever is here. Because you know that you can't get it wrong. Because who are you? You are life itself, playing as this human. And this human will never be perfect. This human will always be the play of limitations. So if you don't need to try to perfect this human, this is radical. She can just be the mess that she is. And paradoxically, this is so nourishing for this person. She comes alive more and more. No need to try to fit her into any box. She starts to live more and more courageously, more and more in alignment with that courage that I am. Without trying, without needing to do anything or remember anything. It happens by itself. Simply in acknowledging that I am courage itself. And my whole life is dedicated to that courage. Nothing else is more important or more meaningful. Then life reveals itself in all the small details. Ever unfolding in every area of my life, whether it's in relationships, being a mother in my case, or being someone at work, or interacting with other people in friendships, in every area. Life reveals itself. I'm not this, and I'm not that, and I'm not this, and I'm not that. Free falling. And yet here I am, in exactly what's here. Nothing missing. Nothing needed. But I'd like to hear from you, and usually I have another chair up here and we have a dialogue, but perhaps in this context we can just take some questions from where you're sitting. Is that a mic? Yeah.
I just wanted to know, how can we let ourselves into this free fall each moment? We keep ourselves from falling because we are fearful in every moment. So how we will change this to the free fall? I mean, how do we make the click?
Yeah. Yeah, and this question itself is actually coming from the thinking, of course. I mean, where else, right? So first of all, to acknowledge that it's not actually a question that's coming from your true nature, because your true nature doesn't need to know how to free fall, because it is already free fall. So it's thinking that is trying to come in alignment with that free fall, and the thinking will never manage it. It will just fail. So the answer for the thinking is that there is nothing you can do, thinking. Right? Absolutely nothing. It's absolutely and utterly hopeless. Yeah. All you can do is try and fail, and bang your head against the brick wall. But keep going, keep going until you really know that for yourself. And you may find that you get quite a lot of bruises, but that's all part of it. You have to discover this for yourself, and you have to get frustrated and experience the pain of not getting it. And I know that sounds harsh, but if I say to you, oh, you just need to do this, this, and this, it's just going to encourage more trying and failing. So the sooner you're faced with the fact that there is nothing you can do, the sooner you know that for yourself, and you see that any trying is just the thinking. See? You are already that free fall. And when you acknowledge that any trying to become that is just in a way a distraction from acknowledging that you are that. But you can't even try not to be distracted. You see, everything I suggest to you is impossible. So keep trying.
Thank you.
What about responsibility? What about responsibility with the rest of the world? How can you...
Responsibility.
Yeah, if we have responsibility there, how you deal with it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. Well, usually the way we think about responsibility is that we think about it as a belief, as a concept, as an idea. We're taught usually from a young age that we need to be responsible people, like grown-ups, you know. And actually, what I find that kind of responsibility, when it comes from the thinking, somehow doesn't sit right with me. It feels fake somehow. It feels like too much effort. Something that we need to really try hard to be that. And no matter how much I've tried in my life, I've never managed to be a responsible person. And when I have, it's just felt painful. So what I've discovered is that actually it's more about responding, responding to what is here now. And when I really acknowledge that there's a responding that happens beyond the thinking, just a sense of knowing what needs to happen now, that carries a great responsibility, that in fact everything in life is appearing in me. Everything is happening in me. All of this is in who I really am. So in fact I have the greatest responsibility, the ability to respond to everything. And this is all happening in me, and so therefore it doesn't require a concept about it. When I really trust what I know beyond the thinking, the responding happens by itself. And it may not always appear to be so responsible according to what people think. It may rock the boat, it may be strange or different, compared to what people think, but then it feels much more in line with what I know to be true. And for me, that's the greatest thing. Much more important than saving the world, because I am the world. The world is in me. Someone back there? Oh, there.
No, I have a question, and it's quite a different subject, but I'm very curious how you think about the instinctive fear of death.
Fear of death?
Would it be a matter of the mind, or a matter of the soul, or a matter of the feeling? What are your thoughts or your feelings about that?
Keep the microphone, you never know, you might need it.
I don't like to speak like this, but...
But it's a great question, yeah. Well, it does seem that it's very natural to have a fear of death for this body. The program of this body is that it's programmed to survive at all costs. Right? So then the instinctive fear of death is part of that survival program. So, often our spiritual search also is about trying to come to terms with death.
Right.
Isn't it? Or the fear of death. And actually, when you acknowledge that who you are, your real nature, is death, it's a very different way of looking at death. Yes, this body still, most likely, I hear, has to die.
Yes.
It has to come to an end. But that death that you are is already here. You see, because this death is emptiness. It's another word for emptiness, nothingness, wholeness, freedom. It's all the same. All these words sound like different things, but emptiness is who you are right now. So in fact, the play of being this human is the play of death pretending to be alive, only to then die. But you've always been death.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, there's some freedom in acknowledging that. Maybe there's still some instinctive fear, but that's natural. You don't need to try to fix it or do anything with it. It's just a program of the body. And actually we can be grateful to it because it helps us to survive sometimes. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Someone back there?
So you said, I am courage itself.
Yes.
You said that's what's the most, you've dedicated your life to that. But for me, you've brought two things together in a paradoxical way with that
Such
statement.
is life, yes. Yeah.
And so I just, because I know in my experience, I know of myself as life itself, as openness and deep freedom, and within that love.
Within that?
Love.
Yeah.
And I also know myself as separate and afraid, and so in that, because of the fear, I summon up something that I call courage. But so I don't know if this is really a question, but so courage is something to do with this fear of this separate self, this sense of freedom and love.
And what happens?
I have no need of courage.
What happens when there's that fear that's here, and then you say you summon up some courage? What happens then?
Well, maybe love arises.
Courage, love, same thing.
Yeah.
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 And you're assuming that you're doing it, that you summon it up.
Right.
But actually it's here. It's just who you are. And sometimes in who you are appears fear, and sometimes appears a kind of summoning up of courage.
Right.
But it's all in you, in the courage that you are. And sometimes courage appears as an experience or love. And sometimes the experience is fear. But knowing that you are courage itself, that you are life itself, that all of this is actually appearing in you, then even when there's fear or a sense of separation, you know that this is in you. So who's separate from what? Or who's afraid of what? It's all you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
It seems like we can have courage only if we have fear as a sub-condition.
So that gets right? I couldn't hear you.
We can only be courageous if we are fearful of something. Otherwise, if we don't fear anything, there's no, contrast, like yin and yang. So what happens if you don't have fear anymore? Do you still have courage?
Is this just a hypothetical question? Because I don't believe that you don't have fear. Let's talk about you. How does this relate to you, and what feels true for you? Or are you just playing with words?
I'm trying to think of concept, of opposition.
Yeah. I know. It's a clever question, that's for sure. But how does it relate to you? What does it mean for you? What does courage mean for you?
What you were talking about, to be able to have the courage to look within who you are.
Sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of
you
what
didn't.
you said.
So
maybe
it's the courage.
The fans, I can't really hear.
Sorry, maybe we can turn off the fan. Yeah. It's the courage to look within and to, to be who you are without giving too much attention to what other people want you to be.
Yeah.
I think this is real courage. But
Yeah.
if you went into that zone for many years and you don't really pay attention anymore to what people think about you or what they want you to be or to do or to say, there's like a detachment. So is it still courageous? Is it,
when you notice that there's a detachment, hang on a second.
Yes.
When you notice that there's a detachment, maybe you're also noticing that there's something a bit fishy about that detachment. You know, that it's something maybe to look at, because you can feel that maybe detachment doesn't feel right somehow. It feels a bit cold or something, like you're floating a little bit separate from everybody else or everything else. And maybe that detachment itself is an invitation to check it out, you know, to feel what am I believing here? Where am I hiding or resting in a place, maybe in some assumption that I'm making that maybe feels safe, maybe is a way of escaping feeling something uncomfortable, but it's something for you to investigate for yourself. You know, because if you've found that by not caring about what people think has brought you to that place, that that's an important stage. Maybe you've realized that it doesn't matter what people think about you. Yeah, great, but keep looking. Don't stop there. You know, don't start landing in, oh yeah, I don't care, because that's just another hiding place.
It's not that I don't care, but if I did care, I wouldn't be here today.
So it's helped you. It's helped you survive. It's helped you function in your life.
It's just realizing that you just have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm just inviting you to keep looking. Don't stop.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I would like to ask you a question that I think is valid for all the speakers of this seminar. Actually, the fact that you say that the strength is in us, the freedom is in us, we are naturally courageous. I think is the ultimate goal also of this seminar, no? To be non-dual, to be oneness. But I feel that this is the ultimate goal, and the battle is ongoing.
The battle.
The battle. And the duality is still there. I think that your words are helping to fight the battle towards to be your true self every day in any moment. But the reality of our institution, of our politics, is that we are not sincere most of the time. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 faces in any circumstances. How is your opinion to win the battle?
To win the battle.
To win the battle and to organize a send where the real oneness is among us and is real, without fear.
Yeah.
Although as the friend said, is an hypothetical reality to be without fear.
It is, what was the last part?
Is only an hypothetical reality to be without fear. But let's say that one day...
Potential, really.
Potential, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for your great question. Keep the mic. Maybe you need it. Keep the mic. Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you speak, you're speaking about us, right? As if we are fighting this battle, or we as humanity fighting this battle. But I don't really believe in humanity, because all I know is this experience. All you know is this experience, right? I mean, we can talk about humanity, and it's, why not? There's nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of adding a dream. It's adding more to what we know right now. And what I'm talking about here is very, very simple, and it brings full responsibility onto you. Not about humanity, it's just about you and your experience. And when I talk about you, actually I'm talking about myself, because in fact there's no difference and there's no separation. See, when I talk about you are life itself, I'm talking about myself, and I'm not talking about you as a separate entity. I'm not talking about you as whatever your name is. What is your name? Angelo? Okay. So I'm saying that actually beyond your name, beyond your story, beyond your history, you are life itself already. Now, the play of duality goes on, yes. Now you can see it as a battle, but what I'm saying actually is that it is the play of life. It's not a battle at all. It's how it is. We don't need to try to become who we are if we are already that. See? The play of duality goes on in non-duality. So it's not that duality needs to become non-duality. It's that it's a paradox. Non-duality is who you are. It's who everybody is, if we are going to talk about humanity or everybody. You is everybody. And this play of duality is a paradox. It paradoxically plays out within who you are as oneness, wholeness, non-duality. When you believe that you are limited to what you think, then the thinking tries its best to become non-dual. But this is never going to work, as I said to the woman at the back there. You know, it's the thinking cannot become what is beyond it. It is absolutely and utterly hopeless. So, in answer to your question, for humanity, it's hopeless. If humanity is believing itself to be humanity even, and trying to become non-duality, this is never going to happen, because you are already that. You can't become what you already are. So then you're left with this play of duality, this play of being a human. And facing and feeling and acknowledging and including whatever is here. It's not a battle, it's life. Seeing it as a battle makes it feel like a battle. Then you're trying to force duality to non-duality. That just doesn't work, and it will never fit. It's the paradox of both already.
Maybe you can share a little bit of experience on how to, as I listen, you say that courage is responding to your own needs and your own thinking. But in society, how do you separate yourself from not people thinking that you're being selfish when you go in that mode? You know, how do you separate that? How do you, you know, people say, oh, you're being a bit selfish, thinking about yourself only. You know, especially if you come from a background where you were raised to always be compassionate and always be generous with your time, with your, you know, with your emotion.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and it's difficult in our society. Like you say, where we're often brought up with these ideas of what it is to be a good person, to be a nice person, to be kind and compassionate, to be kind of godly and saintly. And to acknowledge that, to acknowledge what is true for you can seem so selfish. But actually, I'm encouraging you to be selfish. You know, because this kind of trying to be a good person or nice person actually is quite sickening. You know, if we're really honest, it's like, you know, when we don't feel it, when it doesn't come naturally, then we're just trying to be that in order to get what we think we need from somebody else. right? We're trying to get someone else's approval. We're trying to be accepted, loved, included. You know? That if we show that we're a nice person, then we'll get that. But so we're actually being selfish anyway, right? So we may as well be honest about it. So I find that if you feel that there is a belief that you need to be a nice person, and you're in a situation where that doesn't feel in line with what you really feel, you could even admit it to whoever you're with. You could. I mean, you could say, look, I feel like I should be nice to you, but actually I really don't feel like doing that because I feel something completely different. You know? Obviously it depends who you're with and how you feel, if you feel able to express that at the time, but it's great if you can, because then you expose the whole thing to yourself and to the other person. And that's courageous.
So it is also considered to have courage is to be alone. Because I do see that for those moments you do feel a sense of, well, if you remove yourself from those situations, you do end up being quite alone often.
Yeah, because you risk not fitting in with other people. You risk not being liked by other people. It's a risk, yeah. But you never know, they may even appreciate you more because you stand in what is true for you. And because we all really long to stand in that, to know that and to live from that. That's all of our deepest longing, really. If you ask anybody, maybe they can't express it in that way. But when they see you setting an example of that, it might at first be threatening for them, but also it shows them that it's possible.
Thank you.
So if there is a way of saving the world, that would be a good start.